Hello and welcome to Studio RC, an encouragement for both your recovery and your faith. My name is Max. I am an alcoholic and I am also a follower of Jesus. So this week we're starting on a new adventure, and each week we're going to take a look at a different recovery church value. And we're going to do so, I'm going to try something I haven't tried. I'm going to put a little timer in the corner and I'm going to give myself 12 minutes to see what I can do on each value. I'll only have the 12 minutes and we'll go through each of the different values. What I wanted to do is just set it up, and this will be the same setup each week, and then we'll transition into whatever value of the week. But it's important to remember, you know, who are we and what do we do here at Recovery Church? Recovery Church Movement is a network of recovery churches reaching and training those in early recovery to grow in their faith and their recovery. Recovery Church Movement is a bridge between the 12-step fellowships and the church. We train, coach, and help people learn to become disciple makers within the recovery community and to start, plant, and reproduce recovery churches. That's who Recovery Church is. That's what we do. Now, our vision, our Recovery Church vision is this: a recovery church in every city in this nation and beyond. And we have taken a look, I think there's something like 15,000 cities in our nation, and so we're looking at that and looking at ways that we can continue to expand and continue to have recovery churches in each and every one of those locations, in addition to your online resources such as Studio RC or our RC online campus, our High Five at 420. So we have all these different stories, different ways that we can help those, both the physical locations as well as giving digital resources as well. And so our mission, we've did our vision and our mission. Our mission is equipping God's people to do God's work of recovery. So we have who we are and what we do, we have our vision, and we have our mission. And that will set us up each week to go into exploring a different value. And we'll review this each week, and then we'll go into the value of the week. And so over the next several weeks, we're going to look at various values. And again, I'm going to take 12 minutes on a clock and see how far and how much we can get covered. I may have to speed talk, but that's okay. So hopefully you're ready, and this will be something that'll be informative also of who, again, Recovery Church is, and who the very essence of us and our values and the things that we do value. So let's get started on this week's value. This week we're going to focus on our fourth value of unity, and we're going to put 12 minutes on the clock, and away we go. The value, Recovery Church value number 4, unity, states there is diversity in our unity, and we are united in our shared solution. We're united with the church and all 12-step fellowships. We're for the church, we are for recovery, and we encourage the Recovery Church family to be active in both. So I want to just address some of the, before I get into the concept of unity, because we're going to look a little bit at unity over the next couple minutes. But what I want to really focus on is, first, interestingly, we had our value had said there's unity in our diversity. And one of the things that we wanted to not do is, culture sometimes talks about unity in our diversity. And we realize that we have diversity in our unity. And we have unity, and it's diverse, but we focus on the unity, not necessarily the diversity. We see the unity, and within that unity is reflected diversity. And that's because we are united in our shared solution. We know that people can be recovered from a hopeless state of mind and body in regards to drugs and alcohol. And then it says, we are united with the church and all 12-step fellowships. We're not in competition with either. The truth is, Recovery Church is firmly planted as a bridge to the church and to the 12-step fellowship rooms. We are in between both. We are meant to complement. We are not in competition. We're not trying to take you away from AA or NA. We're not trying to take you away from your church. We're united with those things. So we're complementing. We're giving a space where in your recovery room, you can't always talk about Jesus or faith or even have worship time or prayer time. Whereas in church, you can't always talk about all of your recovery issues. Rolling into a small group and talking about being dope sick or, going through DTs, the small group might not understand. So the Recovery Church is a perfect place where you're able to be experience the fullness of both of your recovery and faith, and we're not in competition with either. It goes on to say we are for the church and we are for recovery. We're for both of those things. We want you to be in that, and we encourage the Recovery Church family, those in Recovery Church, to be active in both. We want you active in the 12 steps. We want you active in your church. And one of the things that it allows us as Recovery Church to do is we focus on Orthodox Christian beliefs. And you can see those on the website on recovery.church, and our beliefs, and we believe in Orthodox Christianity, the things that have defined Christianity for the last several hundred years. And we don't want to get into what I'll say is the weeds, and not all, but like, can you do a baby baptism or not? We're not worried about that, because at your home church, you can figure that out. You can figure out, your home church will enunciate some of the language of theology and some of those things on how they understand and interact with culture and things like that. We do not want anything at Recovery Church to get in the way of people getting sober and getting saved. Those are our primary resources, our primary focuses. So we don't let anything get in the way of that. And we're not in competition. We're not trying to replace, we're trying to complement, and so that you can be active. Most recovery churches don't meet on Sunday. Why? So that you can go to your church of choice. Most that meet on Sunday. And so that's why we most campuses don't meet on Sunday, is so that you can be active in your church and that you can also be active in your home group. Those are very important things for us, and things that we don't want to just go over very lightly, because I think sometimes people feel pulled. And there are some incredible things at Recovery Church, and honestly, Recovery Church can probably fulfill all of your needs, but that's not why we've positioned ourselves that way. That's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to complement and be the bridge to both, because some people might have a recovery background, but no church background. So that this is sort of baby steps toward the church, or maybe back to the church. Or maybe someone has faith and a faith and Bible background, but they're not so sure about the 12 steps. One of the things that we try very hard is to have a tension, but a healthy tension, but we call it the church and state, like between recovery and faith. We want a balanced understanding. If someone came into Recovery Church from a recovery meeting, there would be elements of the meeting that would look like, oh, I recognize these things. And in the same way, someone coming from church would come in and say, oh, I recognize some of these things. Because if someone from church came in and said, this is just a recovery meeting, I don't see any elements of church, we're probably skewing a little toward recovery. But if someone came in from recovery and said, I don't recognize any of these elements, this just looks like a church service. Again, so we have that healthy tension where we need recovery and church. That's our time. That's what we're called, Recovery Church. There's a healthy tension between both. And so this idea of unity for us is important. It's clearly communicated in the Word of God. The Bible has a lot to say about unity. Tradition number 1 in AA says our common welfare should come first. Personal recovery depends on AA unity. That the fellowship, recovery is unified so that people can recover. In the big book, in the appendix on page 561, it reads, therefore, no society of men and women ever had more urgent need for continuous effectiveness and permanent unity. Us in recovery, we need that. The 12 and 12, the step book on page 187 says, as we lay aside these very human aspirations, we believe that each of us takes part in the weaving of a protective mantle which covers our whole society and under which we may grow and work in unity. So like that unity is like a protective coat to allow us to function both in our recovery and in our faith. God has not created us to be isolated. He created us to be in fellowship. He created us to be in community. And the truth is, us alone is a dangerous and vulnerable being. That's a tough place. Us being alone is dangerous and vulnerable for us. We don't want to live in that place. What the Bible has to say supports this idea of unity, being together, a unity that's involved with our fellowship, that unity involved with the relationship that we have within our church, the unity of bringing spiritual concepts within the AA fellowship into this more focused reality of Jesus. There's a power in community. There's that sense of purpose in community. What the first century people saw in the church was when they saw unity, they didn't see that everyone agreed on everything. They just saw that these people worked together. Different cultures, sometimes different languages, different backgrounds, but they were able to find a way to be unified. They weren't monolithic in that they thought exactly the same and they were just all robots. But that's why it was such a testament to that first century world, that here are these people that have different thoughts and different ideas and cultures, and look at them working and serving together. That purpose, carrying the message. That 12 steps, one goal, making disciples. Proverbs 27:17 says, as iron sharpens iron, so we sharpen the countenance of our friend. There's friction going on when we sharpen one another. There's friction as iron sharpens iron. You can almost see the sparks fly as you read that passage. It communicates to us a relationship and community and mentoring or discipleship and how powerful that thing is. So that when sparks fly, it actually brings about a better you. That mentor, that sponsor, that pastor speaking into your life, things that maybe we don't want to hear and are speaking into our life, and sometimes it's hard because another part of our ego is sometimes getting chipped away. I once had some people in my life who would look at my behavior and say, a sober man doesn't do that. Ooh, a sober woman doesn't do that. That had a lot of weight and sparks flew. But ultimately, I took another step forward to being that man of God, or you as maybe a woman of God intends us to be, that dependence on God, and how the sparks flew. The idea of taking up this burden of even being a sponsor or a mentor, taking that load and being willing to carry that message and help other brothers and sisters down the road of recovery, is not only important, but it's immensely biblical to share the message and to bring people along. It's what Jesus asks us to do and what Paul does. It's interesting that Jesus never sent out anybody to do a mission by themselves. At one point, he sent them out in groups of 7. at least always groups of 2, but he never sent them out alone. We always do this in community, whether it's mentoring somebody else, but even as a mentor or a sponsor, we have a sponsor or mentor helping us as well. Having that community to draw strength from and for our relationship to draw strength out of is essential. In Hebrews 10:24-25, he reminds us, let us consider one another in order to stir up love and good works, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together as the manner of some. Some people stopped getting together, but exhorting one another, and so much more as you see the day approaching. In King James, the word, it says, let us provoke, stir up, provoke in one another. That's what community does, and that's what relationship does. And honestly, that's what unity does. It provokes, it stirs up in us this incredible way of going forward. So let us not do this alone, but let us do this together. My time is up. I can hear it, my timer going off. I just want to encourage you that recovery, that value of unity, there is diversity in our unity, and we are united in our shared solution. We're united with the church and all 12-step fellowships. We are for the church, we are for recovery, and we encourage you, the Recovery Church family, to be active in both. I hope that you're able to do that you're able to find the fulfillment that comes from that, and enjoying both your recovery and church all in the same week, as well as with us. So remember, Recovery Church, there's 12 steps and one goal. As we complete this this fourth value, we do encourage you to share this with others, to like it, to subscribe, to just let others know that this is available. And this might be a great opportunity or talking point for somebody who is heavy either in recovery or heavy in church, and they're not sure how the balance would happen in Recovery Church. This might be the exact teaching that they need to hear to have a better idea of who we are and what we do. So we thank you so much for coming back to Studio RC. God bless, and we'll see you next time for the next value.